Hey friends, welcome to today's video. My name's Stephanie and today I'm super excited to be sharing my first time trying Picture Polish. So Picture Polish is an indie brand that is based in Australia, but they do have international stockists. You probably have seen them, especially with their collaboration shades with people in the nail community, but they do have a ton of other super gorgeous polishes. They were kind enough to send over 5 of their shades in an assortment of finishes and formulas, and they were also super kind enough to sponsor this video, so big thank you to Picture Polish for that. As always, I will save more of my thoughts at the end. For now, let's get into the swatches. So Picture Polish also sent me a base and top coat. This is the Fill 'em Up base coat, which is their ridge filling base coat. I was a little nervous about the color, but on the first coat, it is super light and just creates that wash of color just like any other milky base coat. And I especially love the paddle brush in this. You're gonna see it's the same brush in all of their polishes. So the first polish that I have is Velvet, and this is described as a lush satin pearl finish in a deep maroon color. I personally wouldn't call this maroon because in my mind, maroon is like a darker brownish red. And while this one is a little dark, it leans more on the pink or berry side, but I actually really love that color. It just sets it apart from the other dark burgundies that we always see in this type of finish. This one also had such an amazing formula. It was really even coverage on the first coat. It was a little bit sheer, so it's not quite a one coater. You definitely are going to want a second coat, especially to deepen up the color a little bit to match what's in the bottle. But yeah, this was perfectly opaque for me in just 2 coats. And I'm also going to be using the Looking Glass top coat on top of all of my swatches. This is Picture Polish's Quick Dry top coat, and it's definitely super shiny. I again love the brushes in these polishes. I'm really happy that they have the paddle brushes in both their essentials, the base and top coats, as well as the polishes. But as far as the quick dry claim goes, I didn't find this one to be super quick drying. Like, I know that I have other top coats that dry down a little bit faster, so that was a little bit of a shame to have to wait a few extra minutes just to make sure everything was dried down fully. But I do love how shiny and plump it looks. So here are 2 coats of Velvet with the Looking Glass top coat in the sun and the shade. The next shade I have is Avalon, and this is a captivating metallic green flaky polish in an emerald green jelly base. This one came out somewhat recently, just a few months ago in the Metallic Flakies bundle, and this one blew me away just on the first swipe alone. I was so impressed with the coverage on this one. I guess calling it a jelly base isn't the most accurate because it is super pigmented, but there is still a little bit of sheerness on the first coat. But you get a ton of flakies, so it easily covers up to full opacity in just 2 coats alone. The formula was super smooth and buttery. Even with all of the flakies, they all just lay flat, so you didn't need to do any manipulation like you would with a glitter polish, for example. So this was such a beautiful formula, and I absolutely adore the color. It is so beautiful, especially for this time of year. Just such a stunning polish. Those metallic flakies just pop, especially in the sunlight, but even in the shade, they really have this glowy, lit from within look. I am such a fan of this finish, so I'm sure the other polishes from this collection are just as gorgeous. The next polish I have is Foxy, and this is like a burnt orange scattered holographic, and this is definitely one of my favorites from this collection. Again, I was so blown away just by the first swipe alone. It was incredibly pigmented and opaque, but the formula itself still felt very smooth and buttery to apply, so it didn't feel super thick. As you saw, it gave incredible coverage on the first coat alone, so I was just super impressed. I think this one could be a one coater, especially if you are heavy-handed like I am, and if you have shorter nails than I do. You might be able to get away with just one, but I decided to build up a second layer of this polish just because it was so beautiful and so lovely to paint with. So here's 2 coats of Foxy with the Looking Glass top coat, and I am just such a fan of this shade. You guys know I have been loving these rust oranges, especially this past fall season. They just give me the total cinnamon sugar vibes, and this is a new favorite. Next, I have Serendipity, which is one of Picture Polish's multi-chromes. This one shifts between green, blue, and purple, and even red in extreme angles, all in a charcoal or maybe a black base. It's a little hard to tell what the actual base color is because this is absolutely packed, not just with the multi-chrome shimmer, but also this extra shimmer and hollow flakies as well. So there is a ton going on in this polish. I feel like it looks like a night sky. As you guys know, multi-chromes aren't my favorite finish, but I thought this one was pretty. The first coat was a little bit sheer, which I kind of was expecting, but it did build up perfectly opaque in just 2 coats, which I also was expecting considering it has such a dark base. But yeah, it has a really nice and strong shimmer, where head on you can definitely see the blue and some hints of purple, but then when I adjusted the lighting, you can see at first it flashed all the way to red, which I didn't realize initially because I just saw the blue to purple, but then even on more extreme angles, you do see this like fiery kind of shift. So it was really cool and super shifty. So again, here it is in 2 coats plus the Looking Glass top coat, looking super, super shifty, even in direct sunlight and in the shade. Again, I think you mainly see the blue to purple shift because I also wasn't able to capture the green. I also unfortunately couldn't capture the hollow either, but it was still really sparkly. And last but certainly not least, we have one of Picture Polish's most popular shades. This one is Grace, and this one is described as a pink nail polish with hollow flakies and shimmer. So I was totally confused by this description. I mean, even the front of the bottle says paint your nails like a princess, and I normally associate princess colors with light pinks, but I would describe this as more of a sandy, light beige, neutral color. I personally did not see any pink in this, nor would I categorize it with any of my pink polishes. So while I don't love the weird description for this one, I actually did really love the color. I think it looks especially elegant on one coat alone, where there's just a sheer wash of the color, but you see all of the hollow flakies and shimmer. It just looks so dainty and elegant and almost reminds me of like a bridal color or something, but layering it up in 2 coats definitely builds up the opacity a little bit more, but it's not 100% opaque because in the sunlight you can still see some nail line, so there still is a little bit of squishiness to it, but I think it just adds to the elegance of this color, which I know I sounded like I was giving it such a hard time, but this is actually another favorite from the set. So that wraps up my swatches for Picture Polish. So as always, I would love to know what your thoughts are on these shades, especially if you have tried Picture Polish before, because overall, I was really impressed with them. I mean, I feel like I've always heard really good things about their polishes, like having great formulas, great coverage, but I don't know, even though I trust other people who are reviewing it, it's always satisfying when you try it yourself and you're just so blown away by the first stroke alone. So these were all amazing, and I'm sure the other polishes and colors in these similar finishes would perform just as well. Let me know which of these was your favorite, because at first I really was torn between Foxy and Gracie being my favorites. You know, I'm just such a sucker for those like jelly hollow scattered formulas, but I really have been loving Velvet. Like, it is just so dark and sexy, but I feel like there is that little bit of berry pink color to it that just sets it apart from like the other metallic-y red kind of shades that we always see this time of year. So I think it is super, super gorgeous. So if you are interested in picking any of these up or any other Picture Polish shades, I will have their website linked down below. If you do want to see any comparisons for them, make sure to leave them in the comments or message me over on Instagram so that way I can share them in my stories, or just let me know any and all thoughts that you have down below so we can chat about it. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.